war never changes.
But recipes do. So how has the nuclear fallout changed chicken noodle soup? Well, firstly, we now use rad chickens. Something that hasn't changed is we still need a chicken broth, which we can just throw this thing into a pot with some water and get it heated up to make. Okay, there's a few more steps to it than that. So here's what you need. You need a whole chicken, onion, ginger, garlic, carrots, lemongrass or lemongrass paste, that's the only thing I could find in the middle of Illinois, sugar, tomato paste, parsley, and water. To start, we're going to get all of this roasting. To roast, we're going to preheat our oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit and assemble the food in a roaster. We'll get this slimy mess off of my table and into a roaster, then quarter up our onions. And actually, I looked at the recipe again after filming the intro, and we don't actually need carrots. So you're more than welcome to use them, as they usually are in a chicken broth, but don't worry about it in this one. We'll add our onions to the roasting pan, as well as all over my table. Then we'll rip up the ginger and add that. Then the lemongrass paste and the cinnamon. We're then going to season with salt and pepper and throw it into the oven for an hour and 15 minutes. Once this has roasted, we're going to break down our chicken. We'll firstly save the breast, as it's not something we need in the broth and we can utilize it in another recipe. So we'll find the breastbone and cut down right along it. We'll then break down the chicken limb from limb. You know, the same thing that happens when a deathclaw interacts with a vault dweller. We are also going to save the thigh meat for another recipe, though I'm way off in finding the joint. We will be sure to keep the bones of the thighs for broth. The next thing we're going to do is transfer the contents of the roaster into a pot. Now, you could use a Dutch oven to do it all in the same pot. That'd be a lot easier. I just don't have one. But once transferred, we'll add our parsley and then cover it with 2 quarts of water. We'll also add about a teaspoon of sugar and 2 tablespoons of tomato paste mixed with 2 tablespoons of water, and mix that up before adding it to our pot. This is then going to simmer for 4 hours. Once cooled, we'll strain it, then add it to a jar. Now, all of that work was to make this amount of broth. Makes you wonder if it's even worth it. And we're not even done with it, because we still need to make the chicken noodle soup. So in order to make this, we need our chicken broth. Some carrots, onion, dried thyme, ground star anise, paprika, garlic powder, butter, jackfruit, which I didn't know was a thing, some oil, and some egg noodles. We'll start by heating up some oil, then we'll add our jackfruit as well as the ground star anise, paprika, and garlic powder. And we'll add a bit of salt and pepper as well. We're going to stir these around until they're nice and tender before putting them into a bowl. Once they've cooled, we'll go ahead and shred them. Next, we need to peel and chop up our carrots and onion. Then that's going to go into the pot. After this is sauteed a bit, and maybe even burnt, we'll add in the thyme and our chicken broth. You're not having any of this. No, stop it. We'll then cube up our chicken breasts while the broth comes to a boil. We need small strips of the egg noodles, so we're going to go ahead and break those up and add them in. We'll then add back in the jackfruit as well as the chicken, and once this is heated up for a while, it'll be ready to serve. This ended up being our dinner, so I didn't really try and revisit presenting it in any special way, so we just have it here as leftovers. But this soup for me is probably one of the best, or at least just one of the most unique chicken noodle soups I've had. I think the broth carries it a long way, as it's kind of the primary flavor I'm getting. But like I said when I reviewed the broth, it does kind of have this like Thanksgiving gravy kind of flavor that comes through, in addition to all the spices we added to it. I think I'm gonna go ahead and rate it an 8 out of 10 because in the end, it's still chicken noodle soup. Like, that's rather basic, but this is probably one of the best ones I've had, if not the best. So it's still good, but like for chicken noodle soup. So 8 out of 10. But I'd highly recommend making this for yourself. And if you choose to, be sure to make the chicken broth as well, because that really carries this a long way. And if you want the entire recipe unchanged by me, be sure to check out the Fallout cookbook.